Hello, Kurt Jackson with KJ Financial here with the first in our eight episode module on the inefficiencies of traditional planning. And the number one inefficiency is that market losses matter. So if you'll keep an open mind, we trust that you'll see that we back up everything we say with mathematical and scientific proof. You may not believe your eyes and ears. So when that happens, and it will happen, remember, write down your questions about it and we'll make sure to get you all the answers you seek. Fair enough? All right, we need to begin with what is probably the biggest myth of wealth building. How many hundreds of times have you heard this one? When investing for the long run, you should buy and hold because the market is always up over time. Does that always mean you're always up over time? Here's another one. If you get out of the market when you're down, you're locking in those paper losses. Okay, so when the market is up, have you ever been told to get out of the market to lock in those paper gains? Or is it only losses that are paper losses? So aren't the results traditional planning is suggesting in both cases is for you to stay in the market? On the surface, you might think it makes sense, but as they say, that devil is in the details. See, our research has found this to be an extremely costly myth, literally costing you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in wealth over your lifetime. Really wish we were exaggerating on that, but we're not. So market losses are the biggest and most costly aspect of traditional planning. If it's okay with you, we're going to refer to traditional financial planning and traditional retirement planning as traditional planning from here on out for brevity's sake, okay? See, market losses create a tremendous amount of inefficiency in wealth building. It's more than you can even imagine, and more than Wall Street wants you to know. See, first thing, no matter what traditional planning would like you to believe, when you lose money, it is impossible to get back to even. Why is that? Well, in the simplest comparisons, when you compare any possible future results after a loss, they will include the loss of money comparing to scenarios where you didn't lose money. Unless you change the variables in your comparison, how could any scenario, including a loss, ever catch up with one that didn't lose any money? So it's mathematically impossible, and the time value of money easily verifies this. I mean, if you could change the variables, it could make you think you're back to even, but are you? So hypothetically, if you had $100,000 invested and you lost 10%, how much would you have after 1 year? So 10% of $100,000 is $10,000. That's $100,000 minus $10,000 is $90,000. So wouldn't your year-ending balance be 90 grand? Okay, simple, right? So let's say the next year you got a 10% gain. Would that get you back to even? So when we ask this question, most people quickly say something along the lines of, yeah, you lose 10%, then you gain 10%. Yeah, you'd be back to even. Let's do what we always do, the math. Okay, so what's our current balance? $90,000 after our $10,000 loss, right? 10% loss. Would our 10% gain be on the current balance of $90,000 or on our previous balance of $100,000? On the 90, right? Okay, so what is 10% of 90,000? It's 9,000, right? So if we add 9,000 to 90,000, our new balance is 99,000, right? Are we back to even of 100,000? So this begins a discussion of how the market is inefficient. When you lose money, doesn't it take a higher return to get back to even? So in this hypothetical scenario, wouldn't it take an 11.1111% return to get back to even? 90,000 times 11.1111 equals $9,999 for an ending balance of $99,999. Is that close enough? Can we call that back to even? Otherwise, we've got to keep going out on the ones, right? So we're back to even with an 11.11% return. So that's close enough to make our point, right? So the problem gets worse as our losses grow. See, the bigger the loss, the return required to get back to even grows exponentially. And you notice I'm putting that get back to even in quotes because I don't believe we're back to even. But we're going to use that. That's what traditional planning uses, so we're going to use that. And I'm going to use round numbers in this for brevity's sake. So if you lose 20%, it takes 25% to get back to even. If you lose 30%, it takes 43% to get back to even. If you lose 40%, it's almost 67% to get back to even. If you lose 50%, it takes 100% to get back to even. If you lose 80%, it takes 400% to get back to even. And if you lose 90%, it takes 900% to get back to even. Doesn't this mean the bigger the loss, the more inefficient the market becomes? So this inefficiency is at the top of what we're talking about. So it's important that you understand this part of the equation. If you don't understand it, Wall Street will be able to continue fooling you into losing more and more of your ability to build wealth. So hypothetically, if we had $100,000 to start, we lose that same 10%, and let's say it takes 3 years to get back to a $100,000 balance. Are we actually back to even? So will that $100,000 3 years later still be worth what the $100,000 was 3 years ago? So what's going on in 2022? Didn't we hit 40-year high levels of inflation? Does inflation make today's dollars worth more or worth less in the future? So if we assumed inflation was, say, 5%, how much would our $100,000 need to be worth in 3 years of 5% inflation to be able to have the same purchasing power as it did when we started 3 years earlier? Would you believe it would need to be worth $115,763? So after 3 years, is our $100,000 back to even at $100,000? Isn't that what we've been led to believe in traditional planning? So if we need $115,763, are we even close to being back to even? Would it be safe to say if you started with 100 grand and you get back to 100 grand that you're back to where you started, but you're not back to even? And I'm doing air quotes because you can't see me. Think this is happening in real life to you? It is. So let's create a hypothetical example from a real world scenario. So would it make sense inflation becomes a bigger deal when we're also losing money? So would it be fair to analyze a time period with some good sized losses and some really good gains? So let's start January 1st, 2000. That's when the dot-com crash started, and go all the way through the end of 2022. So this period includes the 2000-2002 dot-com crash, the Great Recession in 2008, then the downturn we had of 19.95% through the end of 2022. But keep in mind, it also included the longest bull market run in history from 2009 through 2021. So isn't this the exact type of market situation you'd want to make sure your retirement plan performed well in? I mean, if we only assume a robust bull market, how hard would it be to have a successful retirement? But that's not how life goes. That's not how the real world is. So our assumptions are that the S&P 500 with dividends paying an annual fee of 1.5%, assuming a 2.5% inflation rate. It's probably a little low, but we didn't want to be accused of boosting up inflation to make this look better for the point that we're trying to share. So it takes almost till the end of year 2013 to get back to $100,000. At the end of 2013, you end up with a year-ending balance of $110,620. You started with 100 grand, and here we are 14 full years later. We started at the beginning of 2000, so that's a zero, right? We go to the end of 2013, that's 14 years. And your ending balance is $110,620. Are you back to even? Wait, don't forget about inflation, right? Because it hasn't forgotten about you, that's for sure. So what would your $100,000 need to be worth after 14 years of 2.5% inflation to have the same purchasing power as it did way back in 2000? Wouldn't your balance need to be $141,297? So with $110,620 in your account, are you even close to being back to even? Aren't you still a long way off? Are you back to where you were? Certainly, you're above it a little bit. Yeah, we're even a whole $10,620 above. Woo-hoo-hoo, something to get excited about, right? After 14 years. Isn't this what traditional planning has taught you to believe is back to even? So after 14 years, aren't you still $30,677 behind? We're trailing inflation, right? So after 14 years, we've actually lost wealth. Okay, how long did it take to get back to even? Well, let's call this an inflation-adjusted even, okay? Remember, we never really get back to even because we lost money. Essentially, haven't we changed the definition of getting back to even in an effort to help traditional planning look better? So would you believe it takes until the end of 2019 where your account balance is now $182,039 and your inflation adjusted $100,000 would need to be at $163,862. So wow, you've built a whopping $18,177 in wealth after 20 years in the market. Didn't it take almost a full 20 years just to get back to Wall Street's conveniently adjusted definition of evil? Does that sound very efficient to you? Is that what you want your money to have done after 20 years? Don't you want your money to not only beat inflation, but to also grow and compound over the years? Isn't that what we all want our money to be doing? Did you accomplish your goal here? Wait a minute before you answer that. Where's your money at the end of 2019? Isn't it still in the market? I mean, they didn't tell you to take it out, did they? Would traditional planning tell you to take it out of the market or leave it in the market? Do they ever tell you to take it out of the market? Right? I don't know. I've never heard them to. So aren't they purveyors of the buy and hold mantra, traditional planning? So with your money still at risk in the market, what do you think happens in 2022 with the assumption that the market ended up down 19.95%? See, we've gone from actually finally building a little bit of wealth. At the end of 2021, we're at $263,203, which is $91,046 more than the inflation-adjusted $172,157, to $208,587 balance, which is only $32,480 more than the inflation-adjusted $176,107. And that's after 23 years. Is that how you want your retirement investments to work? All right, we've given you a quick look at the bigger picture, but there's so much more to unpack just from market losses alone. We also have a lot more to share. We truly wish you could make this simple for you. The reality of the situation when financial pros try to tell you planning for your financial future is simple. They either aren't being honest with you or they're not really helping you plan for all the unknowns that you need to be planning for in retirement, which is exactly why our focus is doing things more efficiently with your money. Wouldn't efficiency mean you're using less of your money? Plus, wouldn't these efficiencies help achieve financial independence faster? All the while giving you much more control over when and how you want to live your later years? Would you like more control over your retirement? All right, we'll see you in the next episode where we're going to jump into how chasing market returns is absolutely killing your ability to build wealth.